Has the time finally come for a uniform civil code in India? The union government definitely thinks so, as is evident from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech. A uniform civil code, or the UCC, would mean one law to govern personal matters such as marriage, divorce, adoption, and inheritance. India currently has different personal laws for each religion. The UCC would replace these personal laws, such as the Hindu Marriage Act, the Muslim Personal Law, the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act, among others. Just to be clear, there is no draft of the Uniform Civil Code as of now, and given the BJP's track record with minorities, there is genuine concern that the UCC will not be a progressive one and will just be a new way to target minorities. So if equality is really what the government wants, then what should a draft of a progressive Uniform Civil Code really look like? Let me explain. The Uniform Civil Code is mentioned in India's constitution. It says the state shall endeavour to secure a uniform civil code. This comes under the directive principles of state policy, which, though not enforceable, is fundamental to the country's governance. The 22nd Law Commission of India had recently sought the views of the public and religious organizations on the matter. Based on its report, the union government is likely to bring in a draft law. So is the UCC really needed? No, not really. A uniform set of laws for all religious communities and groups may be challenging to implement in a country as diverse as India. But the fact is that there are provisions across India's personal laws that are discriminatory towards women. This is why, if there is a UCC, then it's important to draft one that is truly progressive. So what could this look like? One example before us is the draft of a progressive uniform civil code submitted to the Law Commission in 2017. This was done by a group of 8 prominent citizens, including musician and writer T.M. Krishna, writer Mukul Kesavan, activist Bezwada Wilson, actor Gul Panag, among others. More recently, Soumya Uma, a professor at the Jindal Global Law School, wrote this piece in The Wire about what a gender-just uniform civil code could look like. Many others have also envisioned what a progressive UCC could entail. Let me break them down for you. 1. Inclusivity in marriage. All of India's personal laws reinforce the idea that marriage is between persons of the opposite sexes, between a man and a woman. Marriage is restricted to the gender binary, excluding all those who identify beyond the binaries. A truly progressive uniform civil code is one that will ensure that all citizens, irrespective of their gender, sex, sexuality, religious or cultural beliefs, are entitled to equal rights in marriage. But in the Supreme Court, the union government has opposed granting legal sanction to same-sex marriages, saying that it does not conform with societal morality and the Indian ethos. So how can we really expect any draft of the UCC to be truly progressive? 2. Recognizing different relationships. It's not just married couples who should be afforded the legal sanction and protection, but also those who are in live-in partnerships. The draft prepared by the Citizens Group says that any 2 persons who have been in a partnership for more than 2 years should have the same rights and obligations to each other as a married couple. But Soumya Uma says that the concept of a heteronormative monogamous family is a colonial one, and that a progressive uniform civil code should include not just live-in relationships but also polyamory, chosen families, and even more traditional ones like sambandhams in Kerala, for example. 3. Simplifying and standardizing the process for divorce. The process and grounds for divorce vary for each community, considering the attitudes towards divorce. For example, in Christian law, divorce is stigmatized, and this is reflected in its provisions. Under the Divorce Act 1869, a Christian couple must be separated for at least 2 years before a court can consider their divorce. Meanwhile, Parsi couples who are seeking a divorce have to turn to special courts which have a jury which will then decide on their petition. This is despite India abolishing the jury system in the 1960s. The 21st Law Commission had in its 2018 report pointed out that the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act had made the process for divorce time-consuming, tedious, and inconvenient for couples. But it's not just the process but also the grounds for divorce that have been flagged as problematic. For example, under Muslim law, there are a number of grounds based on which a woman can seek divorce. But men, on the other hand, don't have to state their grounds for divorce. A progressive uniform civil code would not only simplify and standardize the process for divorce across communities, but more importantly, make sure that people of all genders have the access to the same rights and grounds for divorce. 4. Adoption and guardianship of a child. The Progressive Uniform Civil Code drafted by the Citizens Group says that married couples and live-in partners should be entitled to adopt a child irrespective of their gender and sexual orientation. Soumya Uma also points out in her article that single persons too should have equal rights to adoption. She observes that the UCC can be made gender just by giving both parents equal status as natural guardians. Under the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, the father is recognized as the natural guardian, and only after he dies can the mother be the child's natural guardian. A progressive uniform civil code would remove this discriminatory aspect of the law. 5. Succession and inheritance. Succession and inheritance laws vary depending on which community you belong to in India. Most personal laws tend to discriminate heavily against women, whether as daughters, mothers, or widows. For example, if a Hindu woman with a self-acquired property dies without a will, her husband's sons and daughters are her heirs. Next in line are her husband's heirs. If her husband has no heirs, only then will her parents and after them her siblings stand to inherit her property. Compare this to when a Hindu man dies. Here the mother of the man is considered an heir along with his children and widow. Next in line are his father and siblings. Similarly, the marital status of a Hindu man does not affect the manner in which his property is devolved. But on the other hand, the marital status of a Hindu woman determines how her property is inherited. Similar gender inequity exists in Muslim law as well. An only son can fully inherit his parents' wealth. But on the other hand, an only daughter can only take half the share. The remaining share is distributed to male relatives, such as the father's brothers, for example. If there are sons and daughters, each son gets double of what each daughter gets. A widow can get only 1/4 of the share if the couple don't have children or grandchildren, but this reduces to 1/8 if they do. On the other hand, a husband gets half the share if the couple don't have children or grandchildren, but this reduces to only 1/4 if they do. A progressive UCC would be gender neutral and entitle all children, biological, adopted, surrogate, legitimate or illegitimate, to inherit property. 6. The abolition of the restitution of conjugal rights. The restitution of conjugal rights is a provision under the Hindu Marriage Act, the Indian Divorce Act, which governs Christian couples, and the Special Marriage Act to force a spouse to cohabit with the other. And although this provision applies equally to both spouses, Professor Soumya points out that women are disproportionately and adversely affected by it, as they may be subject to domestic violence, marital rape, and unwanted pregnancies. 7. Abolition of the Hindu undivided family. A Hindu undivided family, or the HUF, is a joint family and consists of several persons all directly descended from a common ancestor. This includes the wives and daughters of a male descendant. The HUF is essentially a tax-saving entity and is treated similarly to an individual account. The Law Commission's 2018 report suggested the abolition of the HUF and said continuing it at the cost of the country's revenues may not be judicious. Incidentally, the Law Commission had in 2018 said that the Uniform Civil Code is neither necessary nor desirable at this stage, and instead recommended amending the personal laws to address the discriminatory provisions. So could such a progressive uniform civil code be agreeable to all religious communities and groups? The truth is that this may be a bit idealistic, but what is essential is that in the event that the union government does push for a uniform civil code, it doesn't become a tool or a weapon to target one community. Well, that's all for this week, but do remember to support independent journalism. You can do so by becoming a member of the News Minute. The link is in the description below. Also subscribe to our YouTube channels. And as always, if you like this video, hit the like button and share this video with your friends.